Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And this has been well overdue, and I'm very excited to get into reviewing this book today. So the name of the book that I will be reviewing for you awesome people is The Four Agreements. It's a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it was very interesting. That's all I have to say. It was very interesting, and I wrote some pointers down that I'm going to be, talking about today. And if you see me looking down, I'm going to be looking at my notes. So without further ado, let's begin. So the first chapter, or the beginning of the book, talks about domestication and the dream of the planet. So what you're seeing and you're hearing now is nothing but a dream. You're dreaming right now in this moment. You're dreaming with the brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. The mind dreams when the brain's awake, and the mind dreams when the brain's asleep. The difference is that when we're awake, there is like this material frame that makes us all perceive things in a linear way. And the difference is that when we're asleep, we don't have that material frame, so things can change constantly. In the outside world, there's a collective dream made up of billions of smaller dreams, because I'm in a dream, you're dreaming, she's dreaming, they're dreaming, we're all dreaming. So this dream altogether is called the collective dream. Or the dream of the planet, or you can even call it society's dream. So together we created a dream of a city, a dream of a country, a dream of school, a dream of a church, a dream of sports, a dream of a president, a dream of a club. We create all these dreams all together. And so the people before us, and the people before them, and the people before those people, and before those people, going back to the beginning, made up laws about society's dream. So when you're born, your parents kind of hook your attention. They teach us about society's dreams or their own belief systems. They also teach us about society's belief systems. So these belief systems that they have were passed on from the people that came before them, and the people before them, and the people before them. Okay. And one thing is that you didn't have a choice about your belief systems. Okay, you didn't even choose your religion. You didn't even choose your name. I didn't choose to be called divine. You didn't choose to be called whatever your name is. And you agreed to these belief systems. So when you agreed to them, you decided to go along with the rules, because when you do, you're a good boy or you're a good girl. And he explains that we domesticate children that we love so much the same way that we domesticate animals, with the punishment and reward system. So if we go along with their belief systems, we're a good boy or we're a good girl. And if we go against these belief systems, we're a bad boy or we're a bad girl. He also explained that as we start to grow up, we start to identify with things that we like and things that we don't like. So we learn to say the big 2-letter words, no. We learn to say no. And when we say these words, we're punished for it. So eventually, we decide that the feeling of being punished is not so good. So what do? We agree to these belief systems. We didn't want to agree to these belief systems in the first place, but we decided to go along with it because that punishment, it was just too much. We don't want those punishments. So we said, guess what? We're going to go along with it. He explained something which is true. We like the rewards that we receive when we go along with these beliefs. Eventually, we want to be rewarded wherever we go. be it at school, at church, with our siblings, our teachers, our friends, our family members. And the reward being attention, the, the reward being validation, the reward being praise. We also grow along with having these thoughts in our head. It kind of runs us subconsciously. So after we've been domesticated, congratulations, we've been domesticated. You're here to go explore this dream that you've created on your own. So eventually we want to be rewarded by strangers as well. We want them to validate us. We want them to give us attention because we enjoy that reward. So after we've been domesticated, we have a book of laws in us. We no longer need the outside voices of our parents or our teachers or our siblings telling us these laws, because it's in us. And when we go against the belief systems that we now have, we punish ourselves. And when we go along with it, we reward ourselves. So we basically take on this punish and reward systems that our caregivers, our family, loved ones, basically instilled in us. Okay, he explained that we have a judge and a victim in our mind. Okay, so during domestication, we wanted to be perfect in order to avoid any punishment. We made up a list of things in order for us to be perfect for our loved ones or anyone we came across. We judge ourselves when we come short of this. So the judge and the victim that we had in our mind, he explains it like this. So the judge is the one that makes sure we stay in line. The judge is the one that makes sure we stay in line with this belief systems that was instilled in us. And so when we go against this reward system, the judge punishes us. And when we go with it, we reward ourselves. The victim in our mind is the one that says, oh, poor me. Well, I've been through this and feel sorry for me. And the world is not fair. And the world owes me this. And you know, there's a lot of shame and guilt and just feeling sorry for yourself that the victim does. So there's kind of like this balance there, the judge and the victim. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Okay, so the problem of going against our own belief systems that we've taken on from our caregivers or our parents or whoever we took it from, whether it's right or not, we have these belief systems. So whenever we go against these belief systems, we punish ourselves. But the sad thing is that we punish ourselves for the same mistake over and over and over again. If this judge that we have in our mind gives us real justice, we're only supposed to pay for the same mistake. We're only supposed to pay for a mistake that we did once. That is true justice. But what happens is that the judge decides our fate and punishes us when we think of the mistake again and again and again. Then we tell our friends or our family, they're made aware of the mistake that we made. Then they repeat it back to us. The judge strikes, it punishes us, and we pay for the mistake again. We tell our wife, our husband, they bring it up again, the judge punishes us, we pay for the same mistakes again and again and again, which is not fair. That is not true justice. Okay? So the way we have created our lives, all of us, we've basically created a dream of hell. But even though we created a dream of hell, we can also create a dream of heaven. And with these 4 agreements that I am about to go into, we can learn how to break these agreements. We can learn what these agreements are. We can learn how to break it, and we can learn how to create new agreements. So when we learn to do that, we learn to make our lives a little better for ourselves. So I'm about to go into these 4 agreements, and without further ado, I'm going to start. So the first agreement is called Be impeccable with your word. Impeccable means to be without sin. Our words are magic. Okay? In John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, I'm reading from my Bible that I got from my dad. Rest in peace, Dad. So, John chapter 1, verse 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I want you to hold on to that. So he went on to explain that our words are magic. And that's why in school we learn how to spell. It's called spelling. I don't think it's a coincidence. But we've learned to misuse our words with emotional poison. Impeccable means to be without sin. And so many times we've all used these words against ourselves and against others. Words have an emotion attached to them. For example, if someone says you're stupid, and with all of that emotional poison behind them, behind that word, you agree to it. And then after agreeing to it, you start to believe that you're stupid. So I'm going to give you an example. He gave this example of how important words are. There's a lady who had a daughter, very young daughter, and she loved her daughter beyond words can say. She loved that baby girl. And she came back from work one day. She was extremely tired. She had a long day. She was so stressed out from work. She had a horrible headache. And her daughter was singing. Usually she loves her daughter's singing voice. She just loves to hear her daughter's voice. But that day, the truth is that she couldn't handle whatever noise it was. She just had a horrible headache, and no matter what the noise was, she couldn't handle it. So her daughter, was all excited from her mom getting back from work and was singing and singing and singing, and the lady couldn't take it, and she yelled at her daughter and she said, "Shut up, you have an ugly singing voice. Can you just shut up? Your voice is ugly, shut up." So what happened was that baby girl decided to agree to what her mom said, and she decided to believe that. So after that, this outspoken, fun-loving baby girl started becoming very timid, started becoming very shy, didn't really want to speak much in school. She stopped singing since that day because that's what she believed. Up until she got into an adult, she still believed that. She became a very timid person. She became very shy. She didn't want to talk because she believed that if you want to do right or be right, you shouldn't be talking much. You shouldn't be singing. You shouldn't be making a noise. And she just thought basically it's better not to speak. But the thing is that there's so much going on in this planet. There's just so much of that emotional poison going on in this planet. And it's become something that is so normal for us. Starting off in our homes of domestication, we've heard our caregivers, our parents, families gossip. That's what it's called. Emotional poison that we use to communicate with one another, and we don't look at it as pathological. We look at it as normal. So in our homes of domestication, our caregivers, our families, our loved ones, we're passing on judgments onto other people, celebrities, the neighbors. And so we've thought, okay, this is the main form of communication. They've made assumptions about those people and basically looked at it as the truth. So that kind of sucks that is the main form of communication. No wonder we have a planet just full of hell. Turn on the news and you'll see what I'm talking about. So one thing is that people use their words against themselves. That's the crazy thing. We use our words against ourselves. And how do we do that? If I say that you're stupid, I may be saying this to you, but really I'm using those words against myself, because what's going to happen? You're going to get upset with me. You're going to be mad at me. You're not going to want to talk to me anymore. You might even want to argue or fight with me. So we use our words to create hell. We use our words as black magic, placing curses on each other, being impeccable with our word, sinning with our words. But guess what? No Not all hope is lost. We can decide today to be impeccable with our word. We can decide today to break any agreements with things that goes against what makes us feel good, that goes against who we are truly. You can start now to decide to be impeccable with your word and with the words that you say to yourself and the words that you say to others. And guess what? Before you know it, it's going to start being broken. So that little girl that I was telling you about that eventually grew up to be this shy, timid girl who didn't want to sing can decide to start singing again. She can decide to start singing and start imagining that there's somebody clapping for her and saying that she has a beautiful singing voice. And slowly by slowly, the black magic that the person who loved her the most placed upon her would be broken. So the second agreement is don't take anything personal. So if someone does something to you, don't take it personal. It's not about you. Because you can look at each person's life like a movie, and they're the main characters, the main actors, the main actresses, and you're just an extra in the movie. And it can be hard to see why not to take what someone does to you personally, because we've always been self-centered. It's always been about me, I. And human beings are selfish and self-centered in that way. So for example, if somebody is saying that you're ugly, it's not because you're ugly. Or if they say that you're stupid, it's not because you're stupid. It's a result of the belief systems that they learned during their years of domestication. The same goes that if somebody says that you're great, if someone says that you're beautiful, if somebody says that you're awesome, it's not about you. Because you yourself know that you're great. You yourself know that you're awesome. Don't learn to take whatever somebody says or do to you personally. Always remember that it's not about you. For example, there's some times that you go out, okay, and you're wondering, you're feeling self-conscious or shy, like, oh my God, do they notice that I have this on? Or do they notice that I have that on? The same way that you're thinking, other people are also thinking about themselves that way. They're wondering, oh, can she see that I haven't brushed my teeth today? Or can she see that I don't have a nice car? Like, nobody is really worrying about you. They're all worrying about themselves. So even if somebody comes and shoots you in the head, buddy, it's not about you. It's about them. The third agreement is don't assume anything. How many other times have we assumed things and we're proven wrong? We like to create stories. We can't seem to be settled with an explanation or a reason. And if someone doesn't tell us something, we assume and we make up a story. We get our emotions involved as if it were the truth. We create this story, we create this dream about what we assume in our head. It doesn't even have to necessarily be the truth. We just make up something. We get angry, we get sad, we get our emotions involved, depending on the story that we've made up in our head. If someone tells us something, we make an assumption about that, and we have a reaction to that. In the same way, if someone doesn't tell us something, we make an assumption about that. We make up a dream, a story about that. We have an emotional reaction to it. But how many times have we done this? I actually want you to think, how many times have we done this? We've seen somebody that we find attractive that walks past us, and maybe they give us a smile, and we start imagining us being in a relationship with them, having children, holding hands. We create this dream all from a smile. The person might have not even been attracted to us. The person might have just been doing it just to be nice. But you see that we make up all this story just from a smile or something so minute. Okay, so why is it that we do this? Why is it that we assume things? Because we fear the emotional pain. We fear that the emotional pain might be too much for us to handle, and we don't like it. So instead, we decide to assume, and we decide to make things because it makes us feel better. But the way to deal with assuming is not to assume anything. The way to deal with this is to ask questions. Ask questions until you can be as clear as you can be. Ask questions until you don't have to make up stories anymore. Okay, and the final agreement number 4 is always do your best. Don't do way past your best, and don't do the least. I want you to understand that your best will vary from time to time. Your best will vary when you're tired as opposed to when you have lots of energy. Your best will vary when you're drunk as opposed to when you're sober. Just know that your best will vary from moment to moment. Your best will always be different. So your best in this moment might be different to your best tomorrow or your best in an hour. So doing your best is important because it keeps that judge that you have in your mind at bay. It keeps that judge at bay because when you do your best, when that judge comes up, you can say, hey, you know what? I ain't gonna feel bad because I did my best. Here is proof that I did my best. So you can't bring me down, buddy. No, not today. And the same thing is that when you don't do your best, you risk the judge coming out, judging you and making you feel horrible and making you feel sad and depressed and just feeling horrible. Emotional poison, basically. Okay. So I want you to remember all these agreements. These are things that you've learned over a lifetime, for how many years, decades that you've been on this earth. So your agreement is not something that you're going to break in a day. Sometimes you're going to assume. Sometimes you're going to be impeccable with your word. And that's okay. You just try and try again, because if at first you don't succeed, you dust yourself off and you try again. And you try the next day, because remember, repetition makes a master. When you started walking, when you were a year or 9 months or however old you were, when you started walking, you kept falling down, but you didn't give up. You kept standing up and kept trying, and you kept repeating it and repeating and repeating until you mastered it. Same with when you learned how to write in school. You kept doing it and doing it and doing it until you mastered it. Like it right now, you don't even think of it as a skill. You just do it. You just walk, you just write, you just speak, you just do it. But all of these are things that you learned, and you learned it by repeating and repeating. Okay? So that being said, I thank you guys so much for subscribing to my channel. I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and please feel free to pick up a copy of this book. Feel free to go on Audible and find the book. It is so interesting. I guarantee it's a life-changing book. It definitely changed my life and what I say to myself. If you have any suggestions on books that you would like for me to review, please read them in the comments, and look somewhere in the screen. You will see links to my other video. I think either here or here, wherever it is. Click on it and you'll see links to my other videos and the other book reviews that I have done, and any topics that you want me to discuss. I'll be glad to discuss them on my channel. Feel free to follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I have my info in the description below. Thank you so much for listening to me. Hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace and love. Namaste.